you think about Christ's sacrifice for us, and that is not something we could ever repay.
No.
Never.
No.
Right? It's so monumental. The only thing we can give is to say thank you, and it's such a vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
But that's exactly all he wants.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And as I think about it, even right now, he wants us to be overcome with gratitude because it does so much for us.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Caroline Howard, a biblical counselor and certified life breakthrough coach.
And I'm Chris Oneth, marriage and family therapist and executive director of Downey Park Counseling Associates.
Welcome to our next question, where we attempt to answer the questions of life through conversations in psychology and Christianity.
Remember, this is a place of discovery and definitely not the final answer. 25.
We're a quarter.
A quarter? A quarter of what?
Here's a quarter, so call someone who
Actually,
cares.
technically, it's only a quarter if we only do 100 podcasts.
Ooh, truth.
Yeah.
And we're going to do more than 100 podcasts.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding. I'm tired. I'm so tired. No,
we were halfway there.
Yeah,
you guys think you can come up with that many questions?
Yes.
Lord willing.
There are so many topics that we can talk
So
about.
many topics. And we may beat some to death.
We might. No, we won't.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
Hey, this is Thanksgiving week.
Woohoo. On a very special, our next question.
Oh, you brought it back.
I'm beating that dead horse.
Our next question is, why does giving thanks matter?
Why does giving thanks matter?
Yeah, that's our special for this Happy Thanksgiving week.
Okay.
So why don't we start off
An
with...
attitude of gratitude. Is that right?
Are we going to say all of the Hobby
Cliches?
Lobby, no, all the Hobby Lobby
Oh
signs?
my gosh. Those Christians.
We could go through those. Happy fall, y'all.
Happy fall, y'all.
I had that one for a while.
Oh, you had it, a sign
I
in
had
your
a sign
house.
from Hobby Lobby that said Happy Fall, y'all.
Is there like one that rhymes with autumn?
Happy autumn, bottom.
I was thinking bottoms.
the only word I can
up.
I'm
think
the
of.
guy who
Bottoms.
says it.
Bottoms up bottom.
No.
I don't think it works.
It doesn't work. And you're not even Southern. That's a Southern thing, y'all.
I know, but I want to be Southern so bad. I wish I had a Southern drawl.
It is kind of
Do
cool.
you not know this about me?
Really?
So I say y'all and I text it as much as
Oh.
I can. It's just my wannabe.
I wish I...
At least I admit it. Then wannabe. So what do y'all do? What do y'all?
Wow.
See, now you got me started. What are y'all doing for Thanksgiving? Do you know?
Eating food. So my father-in-law has almost chopped his thumb off with a router.
It's terrible.
And he's like the main player when it comes to building our house. So now he's just going to have to point and
I
direct.
thought you were going to say making Thanksgiving dinner.
He is.
Okay. That's
too.
what I was gasping
He's
about.
kind of
Your
the main
house.
player in a lot of things.
Okay.
So he is going to be limited, but we're going to go over there earlier.
Okay.
And I think this year we've decided to have a sober Thanksgiving. Not that we've had a drunken Thanksgiving in the past, although that was always certainly an option, maybe.
Okay.
But we're not going to have alcohol, so
Okay.
which is good, I think.
Very cool.
So yeah,
What's your favorite? Well, let's go. Yeah, let's do that. What's your favorite Thanksgiving thing to eat?
food.
Okay. No,
Dark-
that's legit. I don't think
dark
you have
meat
to
gravy.
have one thing.
I like to mix the stuffing and the potatoes and the gravy all together, and
Ew.
yes, I even like the cranberry. Not the. So my wife and her family are not can people.
They don't do the bloop.
No.
Comes out with the
That
can
would be.
shape.
They would roll their eyes at that. No, that like the homemade cranberry.
Yeah, my mother-in-law's the same way. She makes the homemade
Oh, that's
cranberry
amazing.
sauce. I don't like cranberry sauce.
You don't like a lot of things.
I know. I like you guys. I
There
keep
you
coming
go.
back.
Ooh, we made the cut.
Isn't that all that matters?
There you go.
So wait, do you make the after Thanksgiving sandwich that has
Oh,
the
gosh,
turkey, the
yes.
stuffing, the mashed potatoes,
for
the
crying out loud,
cranberry
yes.
all on it?
Yes.
That bothers me. It's all
That
good.
bothers you?
I don't mix my food.
Oh, listen, I had
My mom is listening to this
just
now. Like
last
yes, she does
week,
not
I
mix her
had
food.
a pretty substantial leftover.
Meatloaf,
What is the cut of meat I'm thinking of?
not meatloaf.
No. Although the meatloaf
Because
my
your wife made a
was,
bomb meatloaf last week.
It was bomb, and you liked it, so
and
that's
I don't even like
good.
meatloaf, and I loved that.
See, you're expanding. It was a it was the cut up.
Tri-tip,
No, it wasn't New York. It wasn't tri-tip. It's
filet mignon,
no. What's the other one?
ribeye.
Ribeye. There it is. There it is. A pretty substantial ribeye steak on 2 pieces of bread
Oh
with mayonnaise. Oh, it was a
Ew.
workout for the jaw. No
Was
doubt.
that just so you didn't have to cut it up? If I put it between two
No, it was
slices
because
of
I
bread,
wanted
could
that in my
just-
mouth and in my body.
Okay.
And it was even cooked like perfectly. And then I didn't bother putting it back in the microwave, although that would have been good too. If I put it in the microwave, it's all nice and oof. Anyway, yes.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how people are going to feel hearing this.
I don't feel so great
Ribeye
hearing
sandwich
this.
with mayonnaise.
With mayonnaise.
Yeah, my wife kind of does get on my case for like, Chris, you cannot eat things that are going to kill you.
Oh,
Like,
although I made
throw
my
in a
son
vegetable.
this amazing like breakfast sandwich, like a fried egg. I fried up some ham and put it
I'm all
on
about
sourdough
that.
bread, and he's like, "Oh, you're missing one thing," and he comes with the mayonnaise.
Oh,
I was
man.
like, "Oh, you just ruined that."
Yeah.
Oh.
With all
No.
that mayonnaise.
I'm all for the breakfast. I am a breakfast sandwich connoisseur.
Oh,
In
I should
fact,
make you one.
when I'm out of town, I like to find for breakfasts. I like to find the nice coffee places with the breakfast sandwich.
Okay.
There's a great place in Oakhurst that when I went on my little motorcycle
Yeah.
trip on Highway 49, I started out in Oakhurst, and they made a bomb breakfast sandwich. And yeah, I was sitting there enjoying a breakfast sandwich with some random dog.
You should
And-
let our friend Christy knows that, who just moved to Oakhurst.
True.
You should tell her.
She
about
probably already found it.
that. She probably did.
Yeah.
What, Caleb? What are your Thanksgiving plans?
Pretty traditional.
Okay.
Just get together with our extended family and typically have a pretty standard Thanksgiving dinner. Although sometimes we've done, rather than turkey, like tri-tip or something in the past, which I
Yeah.
appreciate more than turkey.
No doubt.
Sure.
Me too.
Sure.
I don't dislike turkey. It's just kind of boring.
There's
Sure.
it's not much flavor. There's not much going on there. That's why you need the gravy.
But I
hate to-
mean, turkey gravy, all
Sure.
that stuff together is fantastic. So.
Do you have a favorite Thanksgiving item that you like to eat? Or you just like everything?
I mean, mashed potatoes are great. I think it's mainly, yeah. Gravy included with anything.
I was gonna see. I was like, what's your mashed potato to gravy ratio? Are you just like build the dam with the mashed potatoes so
Oh,
you can
yeah.
get as much gravy? Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
The crater.
Yep,
I'm like, can
the
I just
crater.
get
Essentially a
Can I
gravy
just
holder.
have the gravy boat, and then I'm just gonna dollop some mashed potatoes in there.
There
I'm
you-
not that
there
crazy.
you go. Would you like some potatoes with your
Yes,
gravy?
this is exactly how I love gravy.
Oh, gravy's
That.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's the great unifier.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, apple pie and gravy. Come on.
Ew.
I'm just kidding.
You're ruining
Oh,
everything.
now I got to try it.
No, that was off the cuff.
I bet it
Although
might
people
be
have apple
decent.
pie and American cheese, not
Yeah,
American cheese,
cheddar
but
cheese.
cheddar cheese, and I've had it.
And it's good.
It's good. Hey, man, I'm willing. I'm a food adventurer.
You are a food adventurer. We know I am
Not that much, but I love the pies too. I love pumpkin pie.
With
I love
some whipped
pumpkin pie
cream.
for breakfast with an egg on top.
Whoa.
Whoa is right.
You top things with weird things.
Hey, man. Like I say, you're
Don't
playing
knock it.
checkers with food, and I'm playing three-dimensional chess.
I'm perfectly fine
Chris,
with
I think you
checkers.
need to start like another podcast talking about your food creations.
I find God's glory in the taste
Yeah,
buds.
there you go. Okay.
Oh
legit.
man, thank you, Lord, that you've made us to like enjoy food,
Yeah.
which is a blessing and a curse because
And thank you that you're okay if we don't like some
one
of it.
piece of pie is good, two is better.
So
Okay.
we're,
Caroline.
And usually there's multiple desserts for Thanksgiving where they're
There
like,
is.
would you like apple pie? Would you like pumpkin? Would you like pecan? And I'm
Yes.
always yes.
yes, a little slice of all, please.
And the ice cream is like the gravy
And
of the
please-
dessert world.
Can we not bring out the small dessert plates for dessert on Thanksgiving?
Ew.
Can we just have a second set of dinner plates for dessert?
No, maybe you should. Yeah, you should need to. Well, the problem,
I don't wanna come back.
the other problem there is we start eating like at like 9 a.m. It's like
And
with
you just keep
snacks
going.
and this, that, and
Yeah.
the other thing, and then by the
It's an
time
all-day
the
thing.
meal comes around at 2, you're like, I'm kind of full, but it's Thanksgiving, so. And then dessert at like later that day. Caroline, what are some of your favorite foods and things?
first-
What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
We are going to Oregon
Whoa, good for you.
to see my daughter.
That's awesome.
So here's the thing.
You gonna go find
it
a
is.
Waffle House to eat or something?
Do I need
Sans
to find
cockroaches?
a Waffle House? No, I don't need to find a Waffle House. We're gonna make it in her apartment. So her husband
Very cool.
It will be away at basic training.
Oh,
And so
there's no
she's-
place
So
like
she's
home
alone
for,
for
the
Thanksgiving.
holidays.
So we're driving up
Oh,
there.
well then she's not alone.
No, because we're gonna be there. So we're driving up
Sans
there.
husband.
I get to cook with my daughter for Thanksgiving, which
That's cool.
It'll be like the first time we've done that. So
Do you know how to cook?
Oh my!
No, I'm just a
word. Why do you ask it like that?
That was very loaded.
Do you know that we normally do? We normally have Thanksgiving.
Was it loaded?
Yes.
Okay.
It was the way you looked at me, like.
I didn't know how to approach
See,
the
even
topic.
Caleb saw it, like.
And he's over at the other angle, like I
You've
tried
had
to.
dinner at my house.
Oh,
I
that's
have
right. I
cooked
have.
many a meals for you.
I have.
I mean, we order in a lot.
Oh,
too,
that's what happened.
Yeah. I know how to make a lot of things. Reservations are the best thing.
I can make reservations with the best of them.
Normally Thanksgiving is at our house every year. Pretty
Yeah,
much
okay.
for the last 20 years I've
Wow.
hosted and done Thanksgiving. So yes,
Okay.
I know how to cook.
You cook a bird.
I do the bird.
Do you
Yeah.
cook it just one way, or have you smoked it or fried it?
No, because no, we do have a smoker this year, but we won't be home. So I could have smoked it. We don't have a fryer. I always just bake it in the oven.
Okay.
There's nothing
Traditional.
like that smell,
Sure.
Shove some apples in there, some lemons in there, some rosemary.
I have
some butter.
fried.
Yeah.
Where you dip it in the oil.
Yes.
And I did a lot of research on like you got to make sure it's dry and do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think I might have overdone it just a touch.
Okay.
Although even me overdoing it a little bit, where the outside looked pretty dark.
Okay.
Like
It's
the
crispy.
inside was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we've gone to our families in Idaho before.
Oh yeah.
And my cousin's husband, Brent, is the most amazing cook ever.
Nice.
And he fries a turkey and smokes a turkey.
Wow.
And I think one year he might have done a pig in the ground. Was
Oh,
that for
my
Thanksgiving?
word.
I can't remember.
That I would totally sign up
Yeah,
for.
but then he starts frying everything after that. He's like, "You want to throw some Oreos in there? You want to throw?" I mean, it is. He makes homemade
Turns it
macaroni
into a
and
state
cheese.
fair
It is-
situation.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Stick of butter.
You sleep for days afterwards. You have a food coma.
Oh.
It's amazing, but it's unforgettable. My Thanksgiving's never been
So
unforgettable.
food has an interesting element to it because I am thankful for food.
Oh, me too.
I am it's like kind
Even
of a
though
hobby.
you say I'm like I don't like a lot of things, I do like a lot of things, and I love food.
Okay then.
I do love
All
food.
3 foods that you will accept?
Shut it. My husband and I a couple weeks ago went to San Francisco for the weekend.
Oh yes.
And I mean, that's where you can have food.
Oh, food.
We went to this Italian restaurant that
Which was
had
What was its name?
it started with an M.
There's the Macaroni Grill or Cafe Macaroni.
That's like a chain.
No, it's not. No. That's well, there's Johnny Carino's, and then there's the
Macaroni Grill is a chain.
Okay, then it's not that. It's called Cafe Macaroni or something.
No, it wasn't that.
And it's North Beach, and these guys are
No.
Italian accent and everything.
Oh, these guys were too. And it's like this
Oh,
little
awesome.
hole in a wall down I want to say aisle, but it's not an aisle.
Down the aisle.
What is it? Down the alley. Down that.
Oh,
like,
that's the best.
Yeah, an alley. Like we're walking, and I'm like, oh, I'm a little scared. But then I was like, there it was, and this is how it was. So we go in there, and they had pizzas, but they don't call them pizzas. They call them something else. But now I can't remember.
Something in Italiano.
Yes.
Oh.
And so mine was olive oil with some mozzarella.
Oh my goodness.
Potatoes.
Wow.
Rosemary, lemon zest.
Oh my gosh.
It was amazing.
That is
And
awesome.
I told them they had a Barbera, which is my favorite red wine.
Oh yes.
But this was different, and he explained it to me. I said, okay, I'll try that. And I drank it, and he came back. He's like, do you want another glass? I said, yeah, but I'd like something different. He goes, you want something more full-bodied, don't you? He read my mind. And then he brought me the most amazing glass of wine.
What kind of wine?
I don't even know.
Come on, Caroline.
He had his French accent,
You're
and I
killing
was
me.
like, tried it.
Wait,
and
French or
French?
Italian?
I mean, Italian.
Don't be all like
It's a
somewhere over
French-Italian
there.
fusion.
Italian. He had his Italian accent, and I was just, my mind was blown because I felt like he knew what I wanted and what
By
would
the
be
look
best,
in your eye.
what would be best on my plate and in my glass before I did.
Oh, that is amazing.
And then we ended the meal with flourless chocolate cake.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we started the meal with grilled
I'm in
veggies
rapture.
Yeah.
that were cold and marinated in olive oil.
Oh, nice.
I've never had zucchini and eggplant that tasted like that.
Oh.
So see, I do love food.
That is
It's
true.
just like,
I think we've been caught in a trap of talking about food,
I know.
and we're never going to get to giving thanks.
Oh, look at
I'm
you.
giving thanks just to
He's like,
hear thanks to
"Move
the
it
adult
on."
in the room. So I'm giving thanks for all, part of even me being present and letting the blessings of the Lord soak over me is when I'm sitting in front of a plate of food and I'm just being still and allowing that gratitude to permeate me and not just move past it.
Yeah.
So,
But
what is the question again?
why does giving thanks matter?
Why does giving
and
thanks
I feel
matter?
like this.
Okay.
So last week we talked about we went with 1 Thessalonians 5:17, which is
Yes.
pray without ceasing,
Yes.
and 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says giving thanks in all circumstances.
Ooh. Wow.
So here's the little rub with that. Not a rub. Here's the thing with that. God doesn't say give thanks for all your circumstances.
Okay.
He's saying to give thanks in all your circumstances
So while you're in the middle of it?
while you're in the middle of it. So you don't have to say, right? You don't have to say, and I feel like I've used this analogy before, so I should use someone. I don't know. If my arm gets cut off, I don't have to say, thanks for cutting off my arm, God. That was
Woo!
awesome. But as I'm going through rehab and therapy for that,
Yeah.
I can have an attitude of gratitude.
Okay.
Like you just said, but I
How?
can have a grateful and positive heart that thanks God for all the other blessings and all that he's gonna do in this situation,
Okay.
despite the junk that I'm in.
So that usually requires that you have other examples of how God has come through, right? And that's going
Right.
to be hard if you don't have eyes to see
Right.
where God has come through.
Right. Well,
So
I mean, you just took that right back to Romans 5, right? Where we are to give thanks in trials, knowing that they
Yes.
produce perseverance, and perseverance produces character, and character produces hope.
that's Philippians.
Is that Philippians? No, it's
Yeah.
Romans.
Want to bet?
Yeah. How much you want to bet?
Caleb?
Do I have to pick a side?
Romans.
Oh, boy.
I'm looking it up. Romans 5, 3 through
I
5.
think it is Romans.
All right.
Oh, wait, what are we betting? A steak
Sheesh.
dinner and
Wait,
a bottle of wine.
Did you just look it up? Did you?
Yeah, right
reference-
now.
Oh,
Romans
okay.
5 through 5.
So
Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces
Oh,
endurance.
there you
Endurance
go.
produces character. But your verse has a similarity to that.
Philippians.
But I believe
can't even
like
spell it,
this
so.
is I feel like rejoicing and Thanksgiving are somewhat of the same. We're going to kind of intertwine them today for this, if that's okay. And so when we rejoice in our trials, that I feel like that perseverance that it produces is that then being able to go back in your next trial and going, remember
Yes.
when,
Absolutely.
and remember what he did.
Absolutely.
Therefore, I can be grateful in this trial, knowing he's still good and he's going to do something again.
And I think the other thing that happens to us is we mix up some elements here. We mix up gratitude with gladness. Like I can be thankful that something is happening, but not necessarily glad it's happening.
So I don't have to be like, oh yay, this is so great. I
No,
have this
exactly.
disease and I'm dying. And I'm
No,
just
we
so
can be,
happy.
this sucks
Yeah.
bad. But I know that knowing, listen, there is not a prophet in the Bible that has not gone through a major ass whooping. And so in a sense, there is work that needs to be done, and we have to be able to accept the work. And so the gratitude is knowing how we are made and knowing that there is a reason for potentially the hardship and a purpose for it, other than just saying it's kind of random and this is what happens, right?
Yeah.
I think we get into non-gratitude when we think it shouldn't happen to us, or somehow we don't have a proper grasp of how actually life happens,
Yeah.
like, cars break down.
Do you think
weather happens.
Do you think grumbling is the opposite of gratitude? Or can you grumble and be grateful?
I think
grateful.
it's interesting because, yeah, right.
I know my words.
Sure. In a way, there could be even a place for grumbling, but not stuck in that place constantly. Like,
but
like
then
in
there's
other
the
words,
verse that
Lord.
says to do all things without grumbling.
Well,
So
I
is there
think
a
though,
place for
okay,
grumbling?
but then you run into the risk of not confessing your struggle, because people do get into, well, if I say out loud how unhappy I am with the situation, then that means I'm grumbling. So I better just stuff that. So psychologically and biblically, I think, like, you could say David grumbled throughout the Psalms, but he
Okay,
also
so-
came back to,
So let's define grumbling. I'm going to do that right now.
okay, then.
Because I think this is what the Bible is saying not to do.
Right.
Because grumbling is the action of complaining in a bad-tempered way.
Ooh. So you can complain in a
Expressing
good-tempered way?
Expressing a complaint in a bad-tempered way.
Okay, I see. Okay.
So I think it is like a heart thing. It would it's not your grumbling. It would definitely be an attitude of your heart,
Yes.
right? So grumbling, bad. Complaining, okay?
Well,
Not always bad, maybe.
no,
Yeah,
maybe I don't know. Maybe there's an element of petitioning in the complaining. Like, Lord,
Right.
this stinks, and I don't like this. I don't want this, but I also know that you are doing something here, and so I want to be able to see that.
Right.
Yes, totally.
Right. As opposed to, Lord, this sucks. Get me out of this. I don't really care what you're doing. I don't want to do it anymore.
Right. Right.
Although I've said that too.
And I think the prior, like, produces, like the Bible says, perseverance, and perseverance hope. Another word for perseverance, I think, would be resilience. And we had talked about building resilience in other podcasts. I think the one on safety.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can be in a place where we build resilience, which then enables us to have eyes to see where we could be thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, can we get into the psychological aspect of being thankful
Sure.
for a moment, and the fact that
I hate psychology.
researchers have shown that it actually increases oxytocin?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So as the
What the
in-house therapist,
Allegedly.
alleged, what does oxytocin do? Why is that good? Why would we want to increase it?
It is, of course, we have a bunch of chemicals floating around in our bodies. Our brains are an amazing work of God's glory.
Right.
Because it's like if, and I read this from a book, Darwin's Black Box, written by a guy who was not a believer, but essentially he was also not an evolutionist in the sense of macro evolution, right? And one of the arguments he brought up is, in our brain, vesicular transport, that is the transport of cells, that is not a process of evolution, because it's like you have 5 components to a mousetrap.
Okay.
And in order for the mousetrap to work, they all have to work in concert. So there is no timeline that would fit the span of the universe in which everything was able to fall into place, because one would fall away not being useful if it didn't work in concert. So you had to have something that was created, in our brain. There's a chemical process that takes place that enacts a switch, which then enacts another chemical process. And that is how the vesicular transport happens. One door is open, another door is shut, and it's all in this crazy timing that I believe is controlled by God's hand.
Of course.
How does that get into thankfulness?
Yeah.
Well, how does that get into oxytocin? Oxytocin is a couple of elements with oxytocin. I think that's one of the elements when a mother is breastfeeding
Yeah.
her child.
Yeah.
It's a connective
Yeah.
thing within us.
So it's a
God-given
bonding hormone. It's a
bonding hormone.
Yeah.
Yes. And so the whole gratitude thing, and there's psychological elements to gratitude that we have to be, I guess, attuned to, connected to. I actually wrote an article related to this, Beyond Me, what awe, gratitude, and worship have in common.
Yeah.
Because our gratitude is a form of worship.
Yeah, this is true.
And awe is also a form of worship. When I look at, when I climbed Half Dome and I looked over the edge and I was just dumbstruck, right? And that's an element of like, in a sense, like helpless surrender that in a way, thankfulness, gratitude mimics, because in order to be thankful for something you've done, and now here's the other thing, culturally we say thank you right away, but I don't think as people we sit still long enough to have that wash over us and truly permeate us.
Right. It's just a habit.
Yes. Well, thank God. Well, it's like,
are you really thanking God?
Yeah. And so that's why I bring up the food thing,
Right.
because there's times I've sat in front of certain plates of food, and not just food, okay, and a lot of things I do, but to sit there and let that feeling of helplessness and just surrender wash over me. That is an attitude, I believe, an attitude of thankfulness, which is also an attitude of worship.
Yeah.
And thankfulness is also, because we are innately built with appreciating the thankfulness, right? That comes from somewhere, right? And I believe it comes from, it's a small example of an element of worship, which is part of how we are made, right?
Because we're made to worship.
I mean, we're thankful when the Niners win a game.
No, we're not.
We are.
No, we are not.
But even that's like, oh, cool. Yes. Right. So one of the elements to awe, gratitude, and worship is the first element is like an ability to notice.
Yeah.
Where to be thankful. Right. Now we can walk and move in our world with an element of criticalness. Like, oh, that needs to be fixed. That needs to be fixed. And that can stand in the way of, hey, that's a cool thing. That's a cool thing. And it just so happens when someone is ready to notice like cool things and even the novel, that they tend to see more of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
One time I was down
I'm
in
processing that. Yeah.
I was down in Southern California. This is going to sound, I was down in Southern California, and I don't know, I think I was working with my brother-in-law. Anyway, I was in some neighborhood. This is years ago. This is probably early 2000s. I'm down there and I'm in a neighborhood, and I think I got off work or whatever. And I was walking to my car or something like that. And up driving a Volkswagen Beetle, like we're talking the 70s version.
Yeah.
It's this Volkswagen Beetle, and it has these racks on it, a roof rack and a back rack that this dude built to stack cardboard. And this cardboard was stacked larger than the bug. I mean, it was third world, my friend.
That's awesome.
But it was, I watched this guy and I watched it come down the road, and I was dumbstruck, and he flips a U-turn and pulls around and stops his Beetle and jumps out and grabs other cardboard, stacks it on, ties it on, and then drives off. And I was dumbstruck with awe.
Yeah.
Over what this guy was able to pull off.
You were impressed.
I was impressed, but even being in, maybe that's another element of worship, is like, wow.
Yeah.
So I hopefully have an ability to be aware. So maybe that's number one, is awareness, being ready to see it.
So here's my example of that. When we were in San Francisco a couple weekends ago, and our hotel, we were up at the top, big, ginormous window in our hotel room.
Whoa.
Spendy
suite.
No, it was not. It is really cheap to stay in San Francisco right now.
Oh, awesome.
Let me just say that, which is really cool.
It's all empty.
It is. And I love it. But it overlooked, our view was the bay and part of the skyline.
Nice.
Like gorgeous, right?
Yes.
So we were out and about, so didn't see the sunset from there. But I woke up, maybe like 6:30 that morning, and just kind of opened my eyes. And whenever I sleep in a San Francisco hotel room that's up high, not down low, I
Right.
sleep with the shades open
Oh, wow.
because I know the view is going to be amazing as the sun
Don't
comes
the
up.
lights at night keep you awake?
No, that is so relaxing and
Okay.
beautiful to me.
Okay. Cool.
So I open up my eyes and the sunrise is starting.
Wow.
And so I'm like, and part of me is thinking, I have no kids. I need to roll over and go back to sleep. There's no reason to be awake right now. But
Thank
I
God another
just
way.
started watching and found that like awe of like this
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful painted sky of
Right.
purples and pinks
Oh
and
my
oranges.
gosh, that
and,
is awesome.
and then just started praying without ceasing, right?
Oh,
and just
yeah.
giving thanks to God for like
Well, totally. It demands
the
a
beauty
response.
that like it was literally a piece of artwork right in front of me, framed and everything.
Absolutely. Man,
It
I'm
was-
praising God right now for
I know.
the
I took a
experience
picture.
you
I have
had.
a picture. I
Very
literally
cool.
like grabbed my phone and I just gotta remember that because it's so amazing.
I have a similar story to
Yeah.
share. So I just went to Michigan a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And part of that was revisiting like my old college campus. And part of that campus is like an ecosystem preserve. It's just this beautiful like
Wow.
forested area. And this is Michigan in the fall. And the
Oh,
colors
my
of
goodness.
the trees were so vibrant, like unreal.
Yeah.
Just the saturation of the reds and the oranges and the yellows.
Ugh.
And then like just these beautiful ponds reflecting the color of the trees and these birds singing all around. And I was just walking through it, like every 10 seconds I would stop and just be like, how can something be this beautiful?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Praise
and
the Lord.
yeah. And then I'm like, how is it that never in like my 4 years of being a student here did I ever realize like how amazing this was?
Huh.
Wow.
And I
That's a
think
good
that's
question.
part of like our gratitude is like we need to have that perspective. Like when we get caught up in kind of everyday life, and I think for me as a student there, I was caught up in dealing with homework and
Oh,
relationships
sure.
and all kinds of
Right.
things that I never stopped to like recognize the beauty that was around me.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
That's
think that's a
awesome.
huge part of
You
gratitude.
come back
right?
a more mature man, and then you are able to notice
and
these
not having
things.
homework.
Yeah, the no homework helped.
I mean, that does
Yeah.
help. Yeah.
Except for the homework of editing this here.
yeah.
So, yes, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man,
something
fall
again
colors.
that we're ready to recognize.
Yeah.
Number two is it's an element of vulnerability for us to be in awe, gratitude, and worship. In other words, we kind of lay ourselves bare. Like when we say thank you, when we worship God, essentially we're saying thank you.
Yeah.
And even when we're in awe, we're like pausing and we're like, it's this unusual feeling that says, look, I can give up this moment. Right. And even in saying a thank you, it's like, you think about Christ's sacrifice for us. And that is not something we could ever repay.
No.
Never.
No.
Right? It's so monumental. The only thing we can give is to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's such a vulnerable thing
Yeah.
but that's exactly all he wants.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And as I think about it, even right now, he wants us to be overcome with gratitude because it does so much for us.
Yeah.
It completes us. It brings about a certain amount of joy.
Yeah. Well, I would say, I mean, it does more than that, right? Because if you go back to the like scientific research, it literally is shown that being thankful helps people feel more positive emotions, relish when there's good experiences. It improves health. It helps them deal with adversity. It helps
Yeah.
build stronger relationships.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, we keep joking attitude of gratitude, but it literally, I mean, he says to give thanks in all circumstances.
Yeah.
So obviously, God doesn't just tell us to do stuff for the heck of it.
Right. Yeah. You don't
He's
say.
not just like, you can't just do this because, I just want to throw this out there and make your life miserable.
And I think
He
we've tried to
knows.
simplify. I think people do try to simplify like attitude of gratitude. Yes, it's a pithy saying, but through adversity, we can come full circle and even have that statement have deep meaning for us.
Right.
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 So, third element is something is revealed to us. There's revelation in gratitude. There's revelation in awe. There's revelation in worship, right? Where we start to, it occurs to us all the things that God does have for us. And it may be something as simple as noticing a sunrise, but also maybe something as complex as, listen, my mind and my thoughts were directed in this destructive direction. And now you've begun to reshape those things to where I am no longer destructive to myself and to my relationships. And that's one of the miracles of God working in our heart.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Element number 4 is something emotional. I think gratitude, I think it needs to have an emotional response, because then it gets to that rote where like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And this goes back to like holding that feeling and sitting with it, because what we can get used to is holding the negative emotion, spinning on things, worrying, trying to shape.
Yeah.
We're good at that. If we then hold on to those emotions, those feelings of gratitude, gratefulness, then we start to become more adept at that. And then that becomes huge. That becomes a huge element in our faith and in the way we operate.
Yeah. The emotion makes me think of, when someone's done something so meaningful for you and you tell them like, thank you just doesn't seem big enough.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, is that because we've minimized thank you? Like we don't put the whole weight of what thinking.
It's like you want to scream
really
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that big enough?
Like
Then
if I
you
say it
scare
20
people.
times and add 10,000
Right.
exclamation points, does that
Right.
like, but I think if we, like if it holds a place, like you're saying, and the emotion is behind there, every thank you has that passion and meaning behind it.
Right. And then even the song, what's the song? Will I stand before you, Jesus, or in all of you be still?
Oh gosh.
Will I fall? I mean,
I love that song.
So that kind of reminds me when I looked over Half Dome, when I looked over the edge, because I was on
Not
my
the
stomach.
when I fall part, right?
Right. What's that?
When I fall, you weren't singing that part as you
No.
were looking
No.
over.
Will I fall you or be? No, but that whole like overwhelmed. I guess overwhelmed would be the emotion there.
In awe of you.
In
be
a good
still.
in a good way, not like overwhelmed. I got all this stuff to do. I got homework, so I can't notice the beautiful fall colors or whatever. But overwhelmed in a sense that I'm like, it's such an intense gratitude that I'm almost frozen.
Yeah.
That's where almost the vulnerability.
Right. Well, that awe in awe of you be still.
Yeah.
And I guess I think of that when someone does something or when I'm thankful to someone.
Yeah.
Am I just saying, hey, thank you so much? And do I keep going or do I stop? And I'm like, man, thank you.
Yeah.
Like I even think of, well, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I feel like I wanted you to know how thankful I was for your friendship in my life and my husband's life the other day. And so it was like, I'm going to take a moment where we're sitting in my office and I'm just going to stop and say, hey, like that means something to me.
Which is interesting because it's super vulnerable to receive that a lot of times.
Right. Like what, and I think that's what people like, you're welcome. And then we want to go on with it. But what do you
Caleb totally has a thought right now.
Yeah. What do you do? He's like, no, I don't.
Just exploded
I just relate.
in his brain.
Yeah.
and we want to just move on from it, but it's like
too vulnerable. Okay.
Yeah. Like how can we
No,
sit
and so
in
then
that?
you've got the thankful loop, right? Because when you're telling me
no,
thank you. Right? No, seriously. When you're telling me thank you, it's a vulnerable place and it's like, whoa, how do I respond to that? And I say, well, thank you. And then it's a thank you love fest. So this speaks to the fifth element in awe, gratitude, and worship, and that is something that we have to actually release, right? It needs a response.
Yeah.
So inside of us, it dwells up a needed response. And I think in our culture, right, if you do me a favor, my thank you is a little, let me make it up to you. Right. And then that's not so vulnerable when I'm also doing the work. Right. But I think that's innate within us. God has created us that way.
Yeah.
Because the response is that helpless, overwhelming, vulnerable, wow, thank you. right? And so our service to our Lord is one of gratitude, not one of, oh, I got to do this because it's what a Christian should do.
Right. Because think about it. When you do something for someone, it means something to you when you do something for someone.
Sure.
So what means more coming back? Just that moment of stopping and being present and saying thank you with the emotion, or, well, now let me do this for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's that moment.
Yeah, totally. And I think people, again, in our culture, we miss that because we're too busy moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Because we've become experts at that because we don't want to sit with that vulnerable emotion of gratitude.
Right.
So all that to say is we need not and I've noticed even when you say thank you to people that they'll be like, oh, no. Right. And we need to sit in that and be like, man, that means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Yeah. So not only feeling the gratitude of thank you, but also receiving the thank you, and then in that moment, maybe you're both feeling the same vulnerability. And that's there's your oxytocin, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess that just totally opened. Like I never really saw it as that, as the vulnerability part of receiving it. And went, oh, no, you don't have to thank me. It's no big deal. I mean, we come up with so many things.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, no thanks needed. Man, don't worry about it. Oh, you get it next time.
Yeah.
I mean, so many things that we say to avoid that vulnerability and uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
But what would it look like and what would it feel like to just be like, you know what? You're welcome. That means a lot.
Yeah. Hold the hug, man.
Hold the hug. There's some oxytocin right there. I'm a hugger. And there's a certain amount of time. I mean, it gets awkward and then it's like, okay, no, we're doing this.
We're ride or die.
And you try to like hug and like a little one like this. I'm like, no, we are here.
That's right. This is happening.
I'm just forewarning anybody who hugs me, like it's going to be a moment.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you. And I mean that.
Thank you for the hug. You know what? You're welcome. Anytime. Some verses on giving thanks, right? Because there's a lot of, and I love this because a lot in Psalms, there's First Chronicles, they say give thanks to the Lord, and then it's followed by for He is good.
Huh.
And I'm like, and I felt like good should have been in all caps. Because there's so much
good
packed in God, in those 4 little letters. There's so much good packed into that.
Yeah. Well, it's like what God declared over creation, right? When He made it. It was good. Ooh. It was perfect. It was whole. Yeah.
And there's so much packed in that good too. Man.
So being able to pause and notice that good.
Yeah. No matter what. No matter what the circumstance. In this circumstance, I can stop and I can thank God. Why?
Yeah.
Not for the circumstance. Because He's good.
Right. And something will be created in you by His great mercy that will change the way you see the circumstance.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. And I probably pray this more often now than I used to, because I just lived so much life of, I don't pray for God to change my circumstance. I pray for Him to change my perspective.
Absolutely.
And then I want to feel that gratitude in that.
Yeah. Even being vulnerable enough to say, hey, I'm having trouble with the way I'm seeing this, God.
Yeah.
Like, help me.
Well, golly, I mean, and I grumble. I mean, my husband and I, we had a total grumble fest last night. We were just like, why is everything falling apart and feeling so much work right now? Like all these just different aspects. Whether
that sounds like a different podcast.
Physical, emotional, mental, just everything, like things breaking, just so much more to do.
Fallen world.
One of my things was like, I had ordered this prescription. It said it was delivered on Monday. I'm like, it didn't come. I really needed it.
Somebody's running around with your pills.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm grumbling and I'm mad. And I open up the front door to grab something, and what's sitting on the front door? That prescription.
Not a flaming bag of poop?
No.
Okay, just checking.
At that point, I wouldn't have been surprised.
So you didn't get my gift?
No, now I'm really bummed because I would have had something to thank you for today. Thank you for the but it was that moment, that was one of those, like, I felt like, God smacking me with the medicine, like, but you didn't notice where I was good today. You didn't stop and go, because literally in that we were talking about, but isn't it so great that this is happening with this kid? Oh my gosh, have you noticed, like, our special needs child has been amazing lately, like, which doesn't happen ever. And like, we didn't stop and give thanks for that. It's like we went on the grumbling train.
You freed up a few stressors, so now I can focus on this negative stuff.
Yeah. And I was like, and then literally talking to him like, well, do you not see how God gave us these things right here, which are usually big things of grumbling in our life. And he has made them good, and we missed it. We missed it.
Right.
And so even finding our cat today, I was grumbling because I'm like, if that cat comes out and needs to go to the vet, I'm going to be so mad. Instead of like, oh, Lord, thank you that we found the cat, because the kids have been a little bummed.
Oh, poor Leon.
I still have a lot of work to do.
As we all do. Thanks be to the Lord, who is always faithful to us.
So happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes.
We have a lot to be thankful for. And our hope is that we don't just spend this week or one day giving thanks, or 1 month. I know a lot of people do the thankful Novembers, and every day they write something down. But I think a gratitude journal is the greatest thing to have. To stop and ponder at the end of every day what there is to be thankful for, because he is good. Absolutely. And he gives good things.
Absolutely.
And he provides our daily bread.
Amen. Thanks for joining us today as we continue our journey talking about life's many questions.
To stay connected with us, you can follow us at Downey Park Counseling on both Facebook and Instagram. You can also follow Caroline on Instagram at Relatable Caroline. And make sure you tune in next week for our next question.